Silence falls across Parliament like a held breath, then fractures without warning. A single statement detonates inside the chamber, rippling through corridors, offices, and closed-door caucus rooms. Papers tremble in clenched hands. Phones vibrate with urgent summons. A call for the arrest of a sitting president tears through the political order, exposing fault lines long buried beneath discipline and loyalty. Whispers turn to panic as cameras capture faces drained of certainty. Outside, citizens watch in stunned disbelief as authority begins to splinter. Inside, an unspoken truth hovers: this moment was never spontaneous. It was inevitable. And someone knew it was coming. The chamber is lit with procedural calm, the muted glow of overhead lights reflecting off polished desks as routine proceedings unfold. Then the air changes. A single sentence cuts through the formality, sharp and irreversible. Gayton McKenzie's call for the arrest of President Cyril Ramaphosa lands without warning, hanging in the space between benches like an exposed wire. For a fraction of a second, Parliament freezes. Mouths remain open. Pens stop mid-stroke. The silence is not respectful, it is stunned. Chaos follows. Voices rise in overlapping protest. Security personnel shift their stance, hands moving instinctively toward radios. Cameras swing violently toward the source as flashes explode, capturing faces stripped of composure. On the ANC benches, discipline fractures in real time. Some members sit rigid, jaws clenched, eyes fixed forward. Others lean into frantic whispers, hands trembling as phones light up beneath desks. Senior officials slip out through side corridors, expressions tight, shoulders hunched, already dialing numbers that do not ring freely. Beyond the chamber, aides sprint between officers clutching folders and tablets. Screens fill with breaking headlines as international networks interrupt programming. Investigative threads begin to surface almost immediately. Leaked sitting schedules suggest the timing was deliberate. Prior communications, quietly circulating among journalists, indicate that select figures were alerted hours earlier. This was not an impulsive provocation. It was positioned with precision, aimed at the fault lines already running through the ruling party. Behind closed doors, emergency consultations are convened. Doors shut. Voices drop. Accusations begin. Loyalty is questioned. Outside, reporters crowd the hallways, shouting unanswered questions as officials avert their gaze. Inside the ANC, something long restrained has been triggered. As the chamber slowly regains procedural order, one truth becomes unavoidable: the call has awakened forces within the party that no leadership directive can easily silence, and their next move remains unknown. Night settles over the party headquarters, but the building remains fully awake. Lights burn behind drawn blinds as senior figures arrive through separate entrances, avoiding cameras clustered outside. Inside, corridors echo with hurried footsteps and clipped instructions. Phones are surrendered at the door. Security seals the meeting rooms. What follows is not strategy but confrontation. Around a long table, voices collide. Accusations surface without restraint. Some demand immediate public condemnation of the arrest call, or others warn that denial will only deepen suspicion. Old alliances fracture under the weight of open distrust. Files are spread across polished wood: internal polling, disciplinary records, unresolved allegations that were meant to remain buried. Hands shake as pages are turned. Silence descends whenever a name too powerful is mentioned. Investigative pressure tightens. Leaked internal emails begin circulating among journalists, exposing months of suppressed tension. Messages reveal warnings ignored, grievances deferred, and repeated efforts to maintain unity through silence. Younger MPs express fear of electoral annihilation, their voices strained as they point to collapsing public confidence. Veterans respond with anger, accusing dissenters of betrayal and recklessness. The language of liberation gives way to the language of survival. Outside the room, aides wait in rigid stillness, watching news alerts update by the minute. International observers issue carefully worded statements, signaling concern without commitment. Financial analysts quietly revise forecasts. Inside, a confidential memo is introduced, its contents read aloud in fragments. It outlines scenarios once considered unthinkable, including formal splits and leadership challenges. The room reacts with visible shock. As the meeting drags past midnight, no consensus emerges. Statements drafted are torn apart. Unity, once enforced by discipline, now feels performative and fragile. When the doors finally open, faces emerge pale and controlled, offering rehearsed calm to waiting cameras. Yet behind them, a decision looms unresolved, whether to contain the fracture or let it surface publicly, risking a rupture that could permanently dismantle the movement. The presidency retreats into controlled isolation as the crisis intensifies. Inside secured offices, curtains are drawn against the glare of cameras gathering outside the gates. Advisors move in tight formation through narrow corridors, folders pressed to their chests, voices lowered but urgent. Screens display a relentless stream of breaking headlines from domestic and international outlets, each one sharpening the sense of siege. The absence of a presidential statement becomes a presence of its own, heavy and deliberate. Emergency briefings convene in rapid succession. Draft responses are projected onto walls, edited, then discarded within minutes. Legal advisors argue in hushed but forceful tones over constitutional thresholds and prosecutorial independence. Investigative documents are laid out, confidential legal opinions, timelines of unresolved allegations, precedent cases that offer no clear refuge. Each page deepens the uncertainty. Ministers exchange glances that betray eroding trust, questioning who remains loyal and who is already calculating distance. Outside the inner circle, hostility grows. Journalists press against security lines, demanding answers that do not come. Diplomatic messages arrive from foreign partners seeking reassurance, their language cautious but unmistakably concerned. Financial institutions react with visible anxiety, markets registering the tremor of political instability. Within the executive, morale thins as advisors whisper about potential resignations and strategic sacrifices. Late into the night, a final emergency briefing is called. The room is dim, illuminated by screens and table lamps, faces drawn by exhaustion. 3 paths are debated: defiance, confrontation, or concession, each carrying irreversible consequences. No decision is reached. As the meeting adjourns, a sealed envelope is placed on the table, its contents known only to a few. It contains an assessment that could redefine the presidency itself. The question left unanswered is whether its release will defend authority or dismantle it entirely. The narrative pulls backward, stripping away the noise to expose preparation beneath the shock. Archival footage reappears, measured speeches, controlled expressions, moments where confrontation was never impulsive but deliberate. Investigative timelines reveal that Gayton McKenzie's move was preceded by quiet positioning. Travel records, private meetings, and restricted communications suggest intent sharpened over time, not born in the chamber. Sources describe an atmosphere of calculation rather than anger. Briefing notes circulate among a limited circle, outlining possible outcomes: public outrage, ANC fragmentation, international concern. None are marked as risks. All are treated as inevitabilities. Political opponents publicly dismiss the call as reckless, yet privately acknowledge its precision. Within opposition ranks, emergency meetings expose uncertainty, not confidence. International observers begin reassessing South Africa's political stability, their diplomatic language cautious but alarmed. As the investigation deepens, one detail becomes unavoidable: warnings were issued in advance, not to stop the statement, but to brace for impact. The call for arrest functions less as a legal demand and more as a trigger. The crisis spills beyond Parliament into living rooms, taxi ranks, and crowded streets. Televisions glow late into the night as families sit in stunned silence, absorbing the implications of a nation turned inward. Some faces tighten with anger, others soften with disbelief. In community halls and union offices, emergency discussions begin, voices low and cautious. Trust, already fragile, fractures further. Investigative data surfaces alongside emotion. Internal polling leaks reveal a sharp collapse in public confidence, charts showing faith in institutions plunging within hours. Civil society briefings circulate quietly, warning of potential unrest. Religious leaders issue restrained statements, their words measured but heavy with concern. Business councils request urgent clarity, fearing instability they cannot control. Journalists move through streets and corridors, recording tears, clenched fists, and whispered accusations of betrayal. International partners monitor the situation closely, diplomatic messages arriving with carefully chosen language that signals unease without intervention. As rumors of mass demonstrations spread across social platforms, security agencies increase surveillance. Inside austere boardrooms and judicial offices, the crisis mutates into something colder and more dangerous. Legal teams gather under harsh fluorescent light, stacks of statutes and case files spread across long tables. Voices remain controlled, but tension is unmistakable. Constitutional thresholds are debated with precision, each interpretation carrying consequences no one wants to own. The law offers no clear shelter, only narrow paths lined with risk. Confidential legal opinions circulate in sealed folders, some contradicting public assurances already issued. Investigative documents reveal hesitation within prosecutorial circles, fear of precedent, and anxiety over political contamination. Quiet messages arrive from foreign legal observers, the inquiries polite yet probing. The implication is clear: the world is watching the integrity of the process, not just the outcome. Within political offices, confidence drains as advisors realize the legal terrain cannot be managed through discipline or messaging. Every option threatens to redefine executive accountability. Late in the night, a leaked assessment appears on a journalist's screen, suggesting that once the legal machinery moves, it may not stop. The ANC emerges from hours of closed-door meetings under a fragile veneer of control. Faces are pale, voices measured, yet the fractures beneath are unmistakable. Drafted statements are read aloud and revised in real time, contradictions glaring even to the most disciplined observers. Infighting simmers openly, ministers, aides, and MPs trade accusations that echo through polished corridors, revealing alliances long thought unbreakable now stretched thin. Investigative reports trace the collapse, linking decades of deferred grievances, suppressed dissent, and moral compromises to the chaos now in full view. Cameras capture hesitant officials stepping into public spaces, their expressions betraying the uncertainty behind rehearsed statements. International headlines brand the ruling party as destabilized, while diplomats exchange careful messages behind closed doors, signaling concern without explicit intervention. As Parliament reconvenes, silence dominates the chamber more than debate. Members sit rigid, eyes flicking to one another, waiting for the next rupture. Reports of internal resignation circulate, amplifying fear. Outside, journalists swarm, capturing every hesitant movement, every faltering word.